used to say that breeding horses had it easy. The only horses that really had to earn a living were the geldings. And he's a gelding, so he has to earn a living. She also said it was, she felt like it was a really good way to judge a program was on the quality of the gelding.
You probably had over 400 people come through these gates so far today. How does that make you feel?
Crazy. It's awesome. It's so exciting.
Start off with a lot of voice. I'll just say ho, up, and down to the walk. And we're going to back this up in a minute. Easy. Good, good, good. I use a lot of voice.
And I moved to Barbados, and I spent about a year and a half taking trail rides out on the beach and show jumping on the weekends. And we actually, believe it or not, had a horse there from Al-Marah. It was called Al-Marah Faraway Dominion, and they had brought him into Barbados to breed to the polo ponies.
And now you're up in the Gainesville area.
I'm in the Gainesville area. We have a small farm up there, still specializing in the Arabs and showing. And then Mark called me up about 2 years ago and asked me if I would do a couple of horses. He wanted to put a couple of horses with me.
Full circle.
Full circle. Absolutely. You know, it's really kind of a strange thing. So he flew me out to Arizona to pick out 2 horses, one to be, hopefully to be a Grand Prix horse and one to be sold on. And I think this is going to be the Grand Prix horse.
You're going to be the Grand Prix?
Hopefully she'll be the Grand Prix horse.
She's absolutely beautiful.
She's certainly on the right road at this point in time. And so it's just been a lot of fun being part of this whole thing.
This whole
it's a great team, and Mark's a great person to work for, and you know, he believes in it being fun and the horses being allowed to take the time. So he's been I mean, I've got good owners, but Mark's a really great owner. And
coming out of the juniors, just looking for another place to continue my career in horses. I would eventually like to become a trainer down the road, and they just offered me a really, really cool place to start that and continue, and give me some opportunities to get my feet wet in the open world.
Al-Marah today for many reasons. One is because this is kind of a piece of history for them. Marlene, explain to me your connection to Al-Marah.
We own 2 Al-Marah Arabians. Playland Melody, who lived to be 34, and son of a sailor, who lived to be 32. And it's a piece of history seeing them come here in our own backyard.
So it's like seeing your babies all over again.
Every time we look at one of the faces of the Al-Marah Arabians, we see our 2 faces in them. So we're a living part of that, yes.
My job is to compete, show about 10 of the horses that I work with on a daily basis, and then I teach the boss's daughter, Keely, and Keely Clark. And then I also oversee what the other trainers are doing and oversee the sales and how everything's going. So
I grew up with Arabian Nights and with Mark, and then I grew up with Al-Marah, so it was never really like, I don't know, it was kind of never really a question as far as if I wanted to get into that because I was born into it. And I retired my reining horse at Youth Nationals, and we did the freestyle there, and he got reserve. It was awesome. And
I remember seeing pictures about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I did like a dressage reining kind of matchup thing, and that was pretty cool.
I was brought up to do this. I mean, some of my learning experiences were truly remarkable. Perhaps the greatest one is that there was a veterinarian at Cornell that had developed a test for a very contagious, deadly disease, and he couldn't get anybody to test it. So somebody said to the professor, ask Basie Tankersley. We had 650 horses at the time. It was after the crabbit importation, and Mother wasn't selling anything because she had no idea what to do with the new horses, you know, who they'd go with, or she didn't want to sell the best horse and not be able to have access to it. So they called her up, and, you know, I was probably 14, 15 years old, and she comes out with all our books, and they still are today. We have these big green books that have the pedigrees and every foal a mare's ever produced, and how we graded it as a weanling and a yearling and a 2-year-old, and you know, my numbers and her numbers, and sometimes, you know, now Jerry Hamilton's numbers. But there's some of these old books that have Harold Bright's numbers, and you know, just they're great. They're an amazing resource when you start to study this stuff. And she had all these green books, and she said, I want you to help me with the project. And I said, what is it? She said, we're about to test every horse on this farm, and if for every horse that comes in positive, we have 2 choices. So she said, we either have to quarantine or put them down. And she said, we have to make this decision before we test a horse, because if we do it after we've found out who's positive, we'll do it with our hearts, and we have to do it with our heads. So we went through every horse on the farm and decided this. And we did the test, and it was the first Coggins test ever performed in the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow! They're very intelligent, very willing, very gentle. And it doesn't matter how old you are, how many times around the show circuit you've been, any injuries, anything like that. Just do it. Get back into it.
I'm Linda Rubin with the Horsetails Literacy Project, where we help students from the 1st, 4th, and 5th grade to love reading with the magic of horses. We're very passionate about our program. The kids love it, and it's wonderful when a little child runs up to you and wants to hug you and tells you it's the best day they've ever had.
So 8 years ago when I started working for Mark Miller was my first interaction with the Al-Marah Arabians. After the show closed a little less than a year ago, he asked me to come onto the property and assist with anything that needed to be done. And then throughout working with the horses, I got the promotion to barn manager and also breeding manager.
Hey, Mama.
Al-Marah is the oldest Arabian horse farm in America. We were founded really in 1939, but the farm wasn't named until 1942, so we used that as our opening date. It is the continuation of a herd that was first gathered in the desert by Abbas Pasha, who was at the time the Turkish governor of Arabia. And this herd has been bred by only 3 families in the last 200 years. We are the 3rd family, and we've had complete custody of the herd since 1958.